The lands between are a fantastic place filled with people, giants, dragons, colossal trees and cosmic gods. And it's because of these grand fantastic elements and larger-than-life stories, like those of Marika and Malekith, like the fate of Godwyn the Golden and Miquella's attempts to reverse it, that it's easy to overlook some of the more outlandish denizens of the lands between. Today I'm here to talk about the jars, and I aim to explain their entire life cycle, as in what would for other types of creatures be birth, life, and death. Because the jars are simply an odd bunch. First, I want to go over the life portion of their life cycle, as that is the key to resolving their equivalence of both their births and their deaths. From looking alone, we see that they are, well, simply jars. They have two stumpy legs, seemingly digitigrade, and two lanky arms. Their lids, or seals, look like red wax, with a symbol of a tree representing, of course, the Earth Tree faith. They are slow and generally move in odd ways, as the normal human way of walking simply does not work for their non-human bodies. Their arms are thin as well, likely due to the fact that they are not really appendages for combat, but purpose-built to pick up stuff from the floor and put it inside the jars. Their role is generally defined as elements of the Earth Tree faith, where they collect bodies and fallen combatants to take them to the roots of minor Earth Trees, where they are assumedly absorbed into the Earth Tree to be reincarnated anew. Now, taking a single look at the base of many of these trees, we see that the jars are empty and broken. The empty part makes sense, of course, as the innards would naturally decompose as time goes by. But why are they broken? If they are such useful tools, why not just reuse them? And why does the description of the item, Alexander's innards, seem to go against what we usually think of the jars? A keepsake of the warrior jar Alexander, found at the core of the dead flesh that once filled the great jar. The jars contain dregs inherited from those who came before. Now the word dregs, as defined by Merriam-Webster, has three possible meanings. Sediment, contained in a liquid, or precipitated, the most undesirable part, and the last remaining part, aka the vestige. Of these, sediment and last remaining part are likely both what we are referring to here, as it is simply what remains of warriors after being consumed by the jars. And this refers to both the body, as in the flesh that's present here, and the soul, as it is still tied to what remains of the body, which does make sense, as there would be no point in carrying the bodies to the Earth Tree otherwise. Thus, our great warriors passed from jar to jar, carrying dreams of greatness. And again, in addition to being what remains of the warriors physically, it seems that a part of the warrior's spirit or soul is being carried as well as a part of the personality. So back to the question, if the jars are just useful tools, why not just reuse them? And the answer is, because they can't be reused. Now we don't have any direct evidence for this, but I think that the jar innards are exactly what gives the jars locomotion and, well, life. So returning the innards that carry the soul to the Earth Tree is probably pretty hard without actually just killing the jar that contains them. This gives a second meaning to when Alexander says,
"All vessels are destined to one day break."
As for jars, breaking is exactly what they are created for. Unlike humans who live and when their time comes die, the jars are crafted specifically for the very purpose of breaking at the bases of Earth Trees. The warriors within, however, aren't just used as fertilizer, but also get passed from jar to jar, carrying dreams of greatness. And it seems that it's not just greatness, and if my theory so far is correct, then passing on human dregs is just how jars procreate. As in, someone creates the jar, and human dregs are placed within to give it life. With life comes soul, and with the soul comes intelligence. And with that intelligence, the jars manage to understand and replicate their own procreation. However, that's not the only reason for the passing on of human dregs. Since jar warriors aren't singular creatures from the start until the end of their lives, but are an amalgam of the warriors within them, the passing of the human dregs also serves as a way of preserving warriors and essentially buffing the inheriting jar with the experiences of the original. So, in short, jars are constructs that are given life by the remains of the dead warriors inside them. And I think that makes sense, because they aren't even the only organism that functions this way. And yeah, I'm talking about the gargoyles. Another mostly baseless speculation I have is that the jars and gargoyles have a lot of shared DNA, or at the very least, they share the same creator. If you just take a look at a gargoyle, or better yet, at Zuli's video of a gargoyle, we see that they too are made of corpses, and notably of the wax made of the bodies of the deceased. They are made of the dead and placed exclusively on points of interest for the Golden Order, guarding Leyndell, guarding Malekith, guarding the passage to the Forge of the Giants, and guarding the path to the greatest shame of the Golden Order, Godwyn. Again, one is made of corpses and exclusively works in the interests of the Golden Order, and the other is made of corpse parts, has the symbol of the Golden Order on its body, or well, lid I guess, and is made to work for the interests of the Golden Order. I think it's safe to assume that there is at least some kind of connection somewhere in there. So to summarize, jars consist of two parts: the jar body and the human remains inside. The amalgamated human remains are what gives the jar life and agency, and they procreate by passing on their innards. And when it comes to their deaths, for as unique as the births and lives of the jars are, their death is everything but. Just as the Tarnished are guided by grace to Leyndell to claim the Elden Ring, so too must there be a force that guides the jar to its final resting place, beneath a minor earth tree and into the arms of its executioner. But jars carry warriors and dreams, and I find it hard to believe that they would just give them up so lightly. And that's why, of all the minor earth trees, the only ones that are surrounded by broken jars are the ones that have earth tree avatars. I believe that in addition to being the guardians of the minor earth trees, their role is also to be executioners for the jars, for jars are weak to the strike damage of their hammers. And this, however, in my opinion at least, makes the lives of the jars all the more tragic and almost needlessly cruel. To be the continuation of a once noble warrior, to be given life anew, for the dreams of greatness are passed on as well, and yet those dreams are paraded around in those mockeries of life only to be crushed as fertilizer for the continuation of the very system that denied them proper death in the first place. I would say their existence is pointless, but that would technically be wrong. Because it's not their existence in the first place. They are, sadly enough, just little more than sentient tools to be used and discarded. And even still, we count one of them as the best friend we had on our whole journey.
As I suspected, victory was impossible. This vessel was found lacking. All vessels are destined to one day break. But the great Alexander lived as a warrior to his last.
Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. I hope you found something interesting here, or at least something you didn't think of by yourself so far. God bless, and have a lovely day. Bye bye.